This is not a message of peace, and that's why I'm not starting this with the typical peace greeting I normally use. Blackheart is signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button if you're a sympathizer, because the message is more important than the messenger. But in this case, I'm only going to address two parties. One party is the reverse pimps of the pro-black spheres. The other party are the red pill aware men who may even have pro-black leanings, but they need to understand that they're dealing with some reverse pimps. I'm gonna start off talking to you reverse pimp ass niggas. You are in the pro-black spheres, and your sincerity, whether you know it or not, doesn't exist. And how you can tell that you're one of them versus the sincerely pro-black ones are that you're going to go and look for the most dysfunctional elements of different black cultures from Africa and Melanesia. And you're going to try to pass them off to us as evidence that our sexual mores are Eurocentric. So you may take a particular tribe in Papua New Guinea, north of Australia, a black tribe, of course, and you're going to say, well, those kids learn sexually suggestive dances when they're young, and use that as evidence that we have Eurocentric sexual morality, when in fact our sexual morality is more conservative than traditional Western Europeans. That's not all. There's more. You will take the culture from Malawi, the one tribe, and there may be others, but I'm aware of one tribe. You will take that custom where the man who is referred to as a hyena has the job of ending the virginity of the young women before they get married, and say, this is African. You will take another culture in which the job of the groom is to sleep with his bride's aunt before he marries his bride. And you will say, this is African. And you will pretty much use this to say that any sort of sexual conservatism has no place among black people. While you were sitting up and trying to press this upon us, what will happen is that, of course, this will start arguments. And some of you are already doing this. Others of you will say things like, well, men did not even exist until 5,000 years ago. Everybody was a woman, and women produced asexually. You will come up, if you are not sincere, you will come up with these crazy things, and they will somehow bring about something, or they support something that in one way or another is not going to be good for black families. There was a woman that actually said something like this, an African-American woman, but she was one of them black to Africa types on the surface. And she set up and said that the feminine is divine, and that men did not even exist until 5,000 years ago, and that women should be able to just parade around naked in front of men, and men should leave them alone. Well, men should not rape women, certainly. We would agree to that. But she seemed to want to say that we should be completely desexualized. Until, of course, they told us to be sexualized and get the dingling up and get ready to hit that. That's not the way it works. That's not it. But she was talking this stuff inside of her car, looking at the camera like she was telling us something that we were supposed to know and didn't for some odd reason. Man, the hell with her. Talking about men didn't even exist some 5,000 years ago. The Torah, if I'm not mistaken, is supposedly 6,000 years old, if not 8. As a matter of fact, I think it depends on which parts. So, but we're supposed to believe that 5,000 years ago, there was only one race and one gender. This is an example of someone that is not sincere. And some of you men are saying stuff that is just as stupid, just as dumb. And it starts not with things that are really this far out that we may have not heard before, or that you're just now hearing the first time from me, or some people in the audience are just now hearing from me. It actually starts with the idea that we are supposed to settle for less from our women than every other man on this planet, even other black men outside the West, would expect from their women. That their women would even expect from themselves and demand from themselves. That we should just accept less. And that we should accept less because of ding, 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 a non-African concept of the alpha versus the beta. Don't tell me that people in Africa walk around talking about alphas and betas. Don't tell me that. I mean, you may hear that now in certain cities, but you ain't gonna hear this in traditional settings back home. Some of you going to say, well, you know, the women typically wanted the best warriors. That's a hybristophilic culture, and I don't give a rat's ass that they came from Africa or not. If they demanded the best warriors, then they were hybristophilic. If you were not allowed to have your kids because of people you had not killed, that's a hybristophilic culture, and we don't need it anymore. And you would find that most traditional cultures on any continent were not that way. And every time a culture was this way, this is the funny thing, every single time a culture was this way, it wound up being usurped by Europeans, who ironically took hybristophilia to new levels only in recent generations. That's the funny thing about it. So you want to sit up and tell the black man in the West that he should stay where he is, not in the motherland, but in the West, and deal with the wicked witch of the West. And not only that, you'll say that if he's having trouble, he should just go to the gym, i.e. spend money with white folks. Or he should go get a dating coach, i.e. spend money with some other man to help him figure out how to get women. When women pay money, they're always paying money to either be introduced or to have men steered towards them. They don't pay money openly to go and get a ding-a-ling. When they do something like that, they do it on a vacation. They pay money to do something like that on a vacation. Then they will pay the money, go fly somewhere and take a penis, and even pay the penis. And while they're doing it, they're sitting up saying that they want to tell, not necessarily you I'm addressing, but they want to tell other men that they wrong for going abroad and tricking, instead of saying we're wrong for going abroad and tricking. The difference is we had the option, but you really didn't have the option, and that's something we chose. So we're just going to lay in the bed we made for ourselves. They're not even grown enough to say that. And you're sitting up and telling perfectly grown adult black men like me that we should stay over there, not even go to the motherland, but stay right the hell where you are and deal with the most dysfunctional woman in our race, the most dysfunctional nationalities of the women in our race, the black Brit, the black American, and the black Canadian, if they're going to act like Aisha Curry did. You want, and they pretty much act like Americans anyway. So you're going to sit up and tell us that we got to stay exactly there where it is the worst and deal with that if we real men. And there should not be any sort of movement for us to get passports to go and find other women, when in fact, sisters have already had many movements centered around getting passports to go to Jamaica to get the long loving, so to speak, and paying those cats. And I know because before I became Muslim, I saw the videos of it. There was a woman that videotaped herself from catching it. Oh yeah. I'll put it to you like this. The details in the video were such that she could have been convicted if she did something like that here in this jurisdiction. So she was one, and others were talking about it. And they've had these many movements centered around a book. Now, the movement may have existed before, but I'm sure it got publicity and extra numbers when Terry McMillan published her book about specifically leaving the United States to go to a third world nation and become a sugar mama to a guy with less direction in his life and get banged out by him, finally getting her sexual satisfaction. Finally. And yet you guys don't want to say anything about that. And you want to turn around and tell us men that because we get passports, and usually the women that we wind up with are black women. Whether the guy's tricking, just looking for a girlfriend, or looking for a wife, usually it's a black woman. Or a Southeast Asian woman who does not have any grudge with black people. And you want to sit up here and get on us about that, talking about we weak because we had to go to a third world nation. Well, what the hell you expect, nigga? First world nations are also Western European. They got the same Western culture. That's the goddamn problem. It's that culture. And that culture is exactly why you will sit up and say something to us and you won't say something to your own mother. Now, if you're not going to talk to your mother about these things, fair enough, but you got to admit that she's wrong, and you don't need to go pressing upon us that which would make things convenient for her to get better results without being a better woman. Instead, you want to say to us, nigga, this is the bill, now you sit here and pay it, even if you didn't play. You have explained to me why it is that gorillas and lions commit infanticide in the wild. I don't like it. But I understand now what the reason is. Now I know what that's about. And the funny thing is this, a gorilla, a silverback gorilla, will actually accept a stray baby that they find in the wilderness. There are ways that he may accept that baby based on if that baby shows respect or not. But this is with the knowledge this is not his baby, and the mothers and the female gorillas are not the mothers. If they're going to adopt a baby, they do it knowingly. They're not going to tolerate a woman, just a female gorilla, just bringing the baby to them when he takes over the band. If he runs off a silverback, then babies are gone. And there have been cases where some of the mothers will actually leave the baby in one group with the silverback and run off to mate with another one. And start and have more babies. And so there are silverbacks that are single fathers in the wild. What you're not going to do is come up and bring a baby to the silverback in exchange for your draws. No, he's going to hit that, and he's not raising another male's baby in exchange for the vagina. That's not going to happen. It's a funny thing because this means they can show compassion, and these are gorillas we're talking about. Not human beings. They can actually willingly show compassion to a baby gorilla if they know that it's not theirs and they're adopting it on their own. They can choose to do such, but they will not let the mother come along and say, you're going to raise this other male's baby in exchange for my vagina. No, that's when they kill the baby. That's when they commit infanticide. Now, I've never seen videos of them doing it, but I know they do it. I've seen videos of how the male lions take out the cubs. And I don't know what they do when they find a cub in the wild that's abandoned or if the mother is just dead or something. I don't know what they do in a case like that. How well do they take to adopting cubs? I'm not sure. What I do know is that when they kill the baby lions, it's very quick. It's quite brutal. They usually bite through and shake the baby, and then the baby's gone. It's quite gruesome, but it is very quick and it's very efficient. It's not a drawn-out torture process. So this means that they're not doing this necessarily out of some kind of rage. They're doing this because they understand this is not my kid, and she's not going to give me the draws in exchange for me raising another male. That defeats the purpose. I'm going to get them draws and have my own. And I'm going to look after my own. So the same one that'll kill another one's cubs will be very tender with his own. And you want us to turn around and not only not do that, which is fine because we're human, we don't just go kill other people's kids, but you want us to actually accept the conditions and term that we only get the draws in exchange for raising other men's kids. And if we start getting disinterested in that, and maybe we're about to bounce and leave, then she'll fall pregnant for our kids and introduce some of our own into the mix, so that we'll stay, because she wants us to stay and take care of the kid by another man. You will be the same ones who will turn around and say, they got some women that can't have no more kids. You need to be marrying them. No, we don't. If a man can be useless for no reason within his control, just bad luck, homelessness, poverty, short, hell, the wrong shade in the wrong part of the country, we've seen that happen. If that's enough to make him useless to women in the bedroom, then the decisions that women make as a youth, they're enough to make them useless to us in the whole entire house. It works both ways, or it doesn't work. And you're saying to us, nigga, if you a real man, if you're a real black man, if you not no sellout, you'll do this, that, and the other. And you're talking about us doing this for a community that demands that in order for a man to be seen as a man, he has to go through a nigga phase. He's not allowed to preach positivity until he has a felony on his record and done some time. When he gets tattoos and some gold teeth, and these are permanent reminders of his street life, then he's allowed to turn around and get a conscience and try to, lead the youth. But in order for the youth to be considered viable men, they got to go through the same nigga phase, then come back and say, yeah, man, you was right. Let's go and teach these kids the right way. Start talking that, prison philosopher stuff. Sick of that. I'm not saying I'm mad because people turn over a leaf. What I'm saying is I'm sick and tired of the community demanding that niggas go through nigga phases before they're allowed to become men. I understand that white supremacy has said that black men are not allowed to be men. They can be boys or they can be women, but they cannot be men. You expect that from your enemy. But when the community takes up the same mindset, you're not allowed, you're not a man until you're a nigga first. That's when I say no, You see, when Islam first became popular among us, I get it. You had to de-niggerize men into men. I got that. But now it's been known among us for a long time. So we should be able to bypass that phase of having to be a nigga first. And you're sitting up and telling us to stay loyal to a community that demands this, and that particular standard itself is largely enforced not by the men, but by the women. You must be a street nigga first before anybody will listen to you about anything positive. And even then, they're going to try to go through the same street nigga phase. Because if they don't come out with those experiences, they're not worth listening to. So it's not okay when a young man has enough sense to avoid prison and says to others, you may not want to do this so that we can avoid a prison sentence. What you know about jail, nigga? You don't know nothing. Besides, we ain't going to get caught. The prisons are full of niggas that said they ain't gonna get caught. And I'm calling them niggas for that reason. We ain't gonna get caught. The whole system's set up to where we get caught even when we don't do anything. So what about when we do? And you sitting up here trying to hold the best and brightest black male minds loyal to this BS. So you're trying to sell us to women, but even then the women ain't paying you and they ain't paying us. You're trying to sell us to these women, but still collect from us. And even then, you're not really selling our dinglings to them. No, you want to sell our loyalty and our resources and our care for them to them, but at our expense. Okay, don't worry about paying me, baby girl. Here you go. Here's this man for you. I take my fees out of his money. And you know what I mean when I say you take your fees out of our money. What you mean is when we taking care of her, she can turn around and sneak and cheat with you and bring some money to you. And that's if she's even willing to give you the draws. A lot of times you guys become pro-black or insincerely pro-black, and what winds up happening, if you ain't making the money yourself, she ain't trying to get none from you. So you still getting a losing deal in many cases, because there are a hell of a lot more you insincere pro-black reverse pimps than there are ladies men. Not all of y'all are even ladies men to begin with. But you do understand that somebody's got to pay. And you don't want to be that one to pay. And that's not acceptable. When I had my kids, I'm responsible. Now, they've been lucky in that they have actually been treated well by other men. And I myself When I was married to a widow with kids who had no dad, I would treat the kids well. Worst I ever had to be was when I had to pop the little youngest one's hands because he thought it was cute to go around hitting people. He also ate a better diet than he had ever eaten before or after that. He also had more redirection shown to him, more advice shown to him. He also got more hugs than he had ever gotten before or after that. That's the other thing. But when my kids, when they've had stepdads, they've been treated well. However, nobody comes to me and says to me, here's the deal. You only gonna hit this when you raise these other men's kids. And what you want is you want someone like me or like some of these other guys to come along and make this their first duty, their first preference. I want to take care of the kids whose dads ain't doing it. I want to take care of the kids whose dads who need these dads. You want to push the stepfathering on to us. And I'm going to tell you now, if a man is willing to do that and he volunteers that knowingly, like the silverbacks who will look after baby gorillas that are not theirs, if they're willing, if a man is willing to do that, then that's on them. It's up to them. But even then, if the mothers are going to come along and say, guide my son, there has to be something in it for the man. And a used up badge that she would have never given to him if she didn't have somebody else's kids, it's not worth it. That's not okay. It is not okay when she comes along and says, well, I would have never noticed you, but now that I've got this child, I need you to guide him. And feed and clothe him too if you can. But there's no way he would have ever been your baby biologically. That would have never happened because of who I am and what I want and what I don't want. That's not an okay thing. And you're sitting up and telling these men to actually look for something like that and consider themselves fortunate when this deal presents itself to them. No, you niggas are reverse pimps. And the funny thing is that a pimp wants the pro to collect from the John and bring it back. You niggas are reverse pimps. You still want the man to pay, even though he's the one you're selling. No, I'm going to pass on that. And I'm going to keep telling other men to do it. And I'm going to tell your younger male relatives when I meet them to do the same thing. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't care if he's 16. If he asks me about it, I'm going to tell him, nope. Don't chase them. Don't pursue them. Don't say the first thing to them outside of business or studying or something like that. Do not do it because they're not going to respect you. They're not going to come after you if you don't approach them. They're not going to respect you if you do approach them. It's a lose-lose scenario. Get your money, they'll change their minds eventually. They'll do it eventually. And even then, honestly, man, it ain't worth it. You got to be with somebody, save your money, and get your passport and bounce because the West ain't where it's at. I'm going to tell them. But you know, man, my mama black, my aunt black. What am I supposed to do? Just lead a black woman? No, just find one from another country and another culture where they treat you better and appreciate you more. And it can still be attractive to you. That's what you do. No, I'm not telling you to ditch black women. I'm telling you to ditch the Western woman, white or black. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to let them know this. And I'm not going to take your permission before I do it. Because you niggas are not going to sit here and reverse pimp them. You're not going to reverse pimp my son either. Talking about what he should do and what he should accept. I don't care if he's got one leg and in a wheelchair. You're not going to tell him stuff like that where you take what you can get. No, not from the Western woman. Because the Western woman would do the same thing even if he had two strong legs that can fly and was bulletproof. And that's what you niggas are doing. So you're taking the sincere men among you and you selling this to them, and you got them out here being missionaries for the gospel, for your nigga gospel, your hood, ghetto, nigga, dysfunctional gospel, just with a pro-black twist to it. What's going to happen to the race? What's going to happen to the race is that we're going to start to move and shift the population outside the West. That's what's going to happen. And some of you cats, some of you were actually trying to go abroad and make sure that the women that are in these non-Western areas act the same way. I thought it was I thought maybe they were getting some of this from the women abroad. No. Some of you guys are actually going and trying to gas up the heads of the women that are not in the West. So now you got Instagram models, booty models in places that they really weren't before, like in South Africa. And you niggas on the internet gassing their heads up. Oh yeah, boo, you look good, queen. What's happening? Goddess. Let me be your king. And actually sending them money your butts can barely afford to send them. Let me cash app that booty. And you ain't getting none in exchange. And they sitting them getting their heads gassed. And you're the one that's ruining it. So when an actual true pro-black man does migrate abroad and he's looking to start something serious abroad, like a family, what does he have to do? He then has to sift through more of these chicken heads than he would have ever had to, because someone exported the chicken head mentality before he got there and before he landed. Sometimes it's a good thing that in Southeast Asia they can't be booty models. Instagram models, sure, but in Southeast Asia, can they be booty models? Their booties ain't really that big unless they get them surgically enhanced. And from what I heard, that's actually being done now in Thailand. And that bothers me. Yeah, that bothers me, because if they're able to do that and they start and they start posting, you might be pro-black with us, but you're going to forget all about that and catch yellow fever on the net, and you're going to gas their heads up too. And then they're going to be ruined. Well, I can make more showing my butt off to everybody than I can being a good woman to you. You messing it up. And that's exactly why I told black men, when you go abroad, one of the first things you let these women know, if you doubt or you fear that they're about to act a fool, first thing you do is you let them know, boo, here's the deal. If you act like the one I left behind, I'm going to leave you too. Because you niggas want to be reverse pimps and you're not trying to save a dysfunctional community. You're trying to save the dysfunction in the community. Last word is going to be to those of you that are sincere dealing with these cats. First thing is how you going to know. They can't stand moral conservatism, especially of the sexual nature. They can't stand moral conservatism. I'm not talking about white conservatism. F them. I'm talking about moral conservatism. Right off the bat, they look at it and say, no, they want completely undisciplined morality, or the lack of it. And the other thing, too, is that they always say that they're spiritual, but they can't be religious. That's another sign, but they pro-black. That means what they want is something free-floating. You just kind of make the rules up as you go along so that you can feel some higher spiritual connection without having to obey any rules. In other words, you're going to know them by their character. When you do know them and understand them, and you catch them, this is what you do. You start focusing your attention in front of them, start focusing your attention on sisters from outside the West, not from outside the United States, but outside the West. So that means that black British sister, don't give her no play. Black Canadian, don't give her no play. The one wearing the beads and talking that pro-black stuff, don't give her no play. Not at all. They start talking in matriarchal stuff, don't give her no play. And let them see it and watch what they say about you. Watch what comes down the pipe from them. And that's how you gonna know. Now, if you are sincere and you see that these niggas is insincere and they trying to reverse pimp you to a bad deal that the women are offering, okay, all right. We gonna be all right with you coming along and saying, I meant well for black people. I was not trying to save the dysfunction in the community. I wanted to see a dysfunctional community get saved or save itself. When you realize that and you come along and you say that to us, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be waiting. Well, at least I will. But do understand this, young brothers. Keep this in mind. They want you to reverse, or they want you to keep yourself available to the worst women in the world. That's what these reverse pimps in the pro-black community want you to do. They want you to keep yourself with the good things you have available for the worst women in the world and the worst deals they have to offer. And that's how you're going to know. Don't take my word for it. Keep your eyes open. You're going to see it. These cats cannot be our friends. Not when you notice this about them. Because what you'll find is that they are less pro-black than those of us in the red pill manosphere. Because all they want to see, really all they're looking for, you'll see it. It'll become clear to you. They want all the things that have been jokes in the community, like the deacon, the joke about the deacon confessing that he feels bad because he done been with this deacon's wife and that deacon's wife and the pastor's wife, and he's turning over a new leaf now. He's gonna stop going with all these other deacons' wives in the church. And somebody says, "Are you repenting or are you bragging?" Yeah, that's an old joke actually. Jokes like that, you'll see that these cats find these jokes to be funny. You're gonna see that. When you go out of that, we'll be glad to have you. Or when you identify this in them and you step away from them, we'll be glad to have you. Because believe you me, right now, it's not too far gone yet. Right now, there are enough sisters outside the West. Right now, there are. But, we got to make sure that there are always enough good ones by not corrupting them the way that some of these other cats are going to be trying to do. I think I said enough. I think you get the picture. So, black heart, sign of blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black male power just because they don't like it.